Welcome to another Adobe Script tutorial. We'll continue working in Photoshop, adding to a script that processes a folder. Let's say while going through the images, a problem occurs. I'll demonstrate by moving a corrupt file to the input folder. I made the file corrupt by opening a JPEG in a text editor and deleting half the contents. In Photoshop, I'll run the script. No surprise, Photoshop can't open the file, so we get an error. However, the error made the script stop. The remaining images are never processed. It would be better to skip the image and keep going. A corrupt file is just one example that causes an error. A script could have errors for many other reasons. Or something about an image might not cause an error, but it's unusual, and we want to know about it. The solution is to log the error or concern and keep processing. I'll show how to do that. To start, I've copied the code from Tutorial 15 and made the title Tutorial 16. First thing we need is a new variable at the top, so it's visible everywhere in the script. var log. Then define it. The value will be an object, which begins and ends with braces. I'll put it just before building the interface. Log equals braces. Because this is a variable assignment, even though the value is an object, it still needs to end with a semicolon. Just like if we wrote a equals 1 and finished with a semicolon. It can be confusing because braces are also used for code blocks, for example, if blocks and for loops. Only when it's an object assigned to a variable does it need the semicolon. Now we'll fill the log object with some variables and functions. This works different inside objects. Rather than a equals 1, the variable name is followed by a colon, then its value. Entries, colon, brackets. This value is an empty array. We'll add to this array as errors are sent to the log. Because we're adding more to this object, last is a comma to separate this item from the next. Functions are similar. The function name followed by a colon, then the function definition. Add, colon, function, message. The code for the function goes within the braces as usual. Log, entries, push, message. This adds the value for message to the entries array. Again, add a comma because we're not done yet. One more function. Write, colon, function, and no parameters. This one needs two variables. var contents, var file. First, check if there are any entries. No point writing a log if there's nothing to write. If log entries length equals 0. There are no entries to report. So return. Otherwise, write the log. First, make the entries array into a single string, with each entry its own line. Do this by joining the array with a return character. Contents equals log entries join quote \r. A backslash signals a control character. R is for carriage return, meaning end of line. Then add a final return to the result. Plus quote \r. Now create the file object. File equals new file quote tilde slash desktop slash tutorial 16 log dot txt. Note the capital F, the app file object. The tilde is a shortcut character, meaning the user home. So the folder is the user's desktop, followed by the file name. Next, open the file. File, open, A. The A argument means append. So if the file exists, more is added to it. Otherwise, the file is created. If you want a new file created every time, change the argument to W for write. Next, write the contents string to the file. File, write, contents. And close the file. File, close. Because the write function is last, it doesn't need a trailing comma. That completes the log object. Now to use it. Go to the process function. Inside the files loop, we'll add try and catch to each file processed. Try, catch, E. Move all the current loop code into the try block. Then in the catch block, we'll handle any errors. First, to be informative, let's have the file name. Log, add, files, name. Then what the problem is. Log, add, message. E is an object returned when catching an error. Within the object is the property message, a description of the error. There's one flaw in this code. If an error occurs, the call to progress increment won't happen, so the progress won't advance. To fix this, add a finally block and move progress increment into it. Then the progress increments even when there's an error. The last step is to write the log when done. Go to where the window is shown and the process function is called. After the try-catch block, write the log. Log, write. Save that and go to Photoshop. Run the script. First thing you'll notice, we skipped past the corrupt file and kept going. That's the first problem solved. In Bridge, we can see the 4 images were saved. And on the desktop is the log. Open it and have a look. There's the error. Now let's try a few changes. When logging the file name, change it to full name. Save and try that. Now it's the full path to the file. Also notice the last error is still in the log, because we used the A argument with the file open method. Go back to the log object and change it to W. And you can see a new file replace the last. I'll change it back to append. Use whichever suits your needs. Next, how about knowing when the error occurred? In the add function, we'll make a timestamp. A couple of variables to start. var d, var timestamp. Now make a date object. d equals new date. With no arguments passed, the date is now, this instant, so it's the instant the entry is added to the log. Next, make the date something meaningful, which we'll store in the variable timestamp. Timestamp equals left bracket plus d to locale date string plus a space plus d to locale time string plus right bracket and a space. Then combine the timestamp with the message. Timestamp plus message. Save and try that. That's more informative. Now let's do more than record errors. Say you want to know something unusual about a file. For example, assume our script expects RGB images. I've made one of them CMYK. Let's have the script tell us. We'll do this in the process file function. If doc mode equals document mode CMYK, log add, file, full name, log add, image is CMYK. This won't interfere with processing the image. It just adds our alert to the log. Save and run that. There it is. One other adjustment, for example. I like to set off the message from the file by adding dashes and a right angle bracket, like so. This helps break it up and shows when there's multiple messages for one file. I'll add a log message here to demonstrate. Log add, quote, dash, 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 right angle, image width equals, end quote, plus doc width, plus, quote, comma, space, height equals, end quote, plus doc height. Run the script. And there it is. You get the idea. That's 2 examples of what can go in a log. Anything is possible. It's also helpful while developing scripts. Instead of screen alerts that pause execution, log the variable you want to check at any point in the script, like I've done for width and height. That's just one example. Download the code at the link in the description. And keep this code, because we're going to build on it and create some useful Photoshop tools in upcoming tutorials. Like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe so you're notified of future videos. Also, leave a comment. I always like to hear from you. All feedback is welcome. There are plenty of other tutorials. Click the video or playlist on screen for more. Thank you for watching. We'll do it again soon.